Top of the day to you on What's the Word. First, I would like to thank you for being patient while we wait on a word to be heard. Our word today is casting spells. While casting spells, it can be found in many categories. It could be like blessings, curses, or just downright just casting spells. And with blessings are like often found as like positive or for protection, prosperity, happiness, and it can be found like in many religious and spiritual practices where it tries to convey good wishes, divine favor, and so like also like when I talk to you at the end of me giving you a word, I would say blessings or peace and love. Those are words that I'm giving you or casting on you that all may be well with you. Is not to do harm versus like as if curses. Curses, on the other hand, are intended to be like misfortune, harm to others, often associated with folklore. We hear all kinds of things like old stories that our ancestors done told us that often associated with harm to others, and they have like all kinds of stories of their own, and many different type of nations and different types of people have their own versions of the rituals and things that are related to curses. It's also found in the word, is rooted, is written for us to live and guide by. Whether we pay attention or not, it's the word. So about casting spells involves with like certain rituals or using certain words, objects to achieve whatever desired outcome. Sometimes when people start doing like magic and witchcraft and variety type purposes, it's from healing to protection to influences events. So they think, because when they cast spells, and they're dealing with witchcraft or some type of magic, sometimes you'll know because people would take on different forms. They would belch or burp or do kinds of different things to let you know that maybe they done crossed a different line or they done entered a different realm. Okay, so we're going to talk about, several scriptures that we found in the word concerning our research as we Googled and searched. And, often I always tell y'all about make sure that you always do your research. Have your highlighter, have your notepad, have your pen, and you jot down, the different things that you would find to help you along your way that you may be safe on this earth. Okay. So in the book of Deuteronomy, we start off with chapter 19. And it states about, let no one among you who practices different types of sacrifices that I'm a little paraphrasing, sorry. Among you who practices their or sacrifices to their sons or daughters in the fire, who practice divination, sorcery, and who interprets omens, engages in witchcraft or casting spells, or who is, dealing with a medium or a spiritist, or who consults the dead. Anyone who does these things, this is like detestable to the Lord. So I looked up, okay, this detestable. What is detestable? So detestable means extremely disliked or considered morally wrong. Actions or behaviors that are seen as offensive to God, the creator of heaven and earth. Okay, so don't get it mixed up with the gods of this world, because this is what they do. So that's where Joshua often talked about that we have to decide whom we want to serve. Do we want to serve the God, the Father Almighty, the gods of this land, of this world? Okay, so in Samuel is another book, First Samuel chapter 28. It deals with Saul. Saul was one of our ancestors, and he was considered one of our first kings. So he was very desperate because the Lord stopped hearing his prayers and answering him in dreams. And so he got desperate because his enemies was, trying to get rid of or harm, take out the Israelites. And he was the king over God's people. And so he went in disguise to a medium. And so he, came to her and asked her to summon up the dead, which was Samuel. And Samuel was a prophet of God. And so when she started doing it, she realized, like, wait a minute, you trying to get me killed, you know what I'm saying? So you got to be mindful that when you're dealing in that area, you could bring harm not only to yourself, but to the person who you asked to come to you with help. Okay. And so in that, it did not change the state of, his destination or what was going to happen to God's people through disobedience. And whatever was written and whatever will happen is going to happen, regardless of whether you summon or you call on all these or you casting spells and this and that. If your life is designed to be how it is, that is it, So he went, and so the medium recognized that, she could have been put in harm's way by summoning up the dead. So that was that, but whatever happened, it still happened, regardless of what he did. You called on the dead or whoever, you casting spells, it still happened. That did not change. So if it seems evil of you to serve God, our God, the creator of heaven and earth, or the gods of this world, that's what's beautiful. That's what's so beautiful about it. Choose who you want to serve. It's enough room on this earth for everybody. You do you, I do me. Just know that I'm not trying to harm you as a godly person. And I hope that you don't try to harm me if you consider not to be a godly person. So it's enough room on this earth for everyone. And whatever happens is not because of anything that I've done. That's between you and God. So you must understand that too. So we're going to go on to the book of Numbers chapter 22, about the Moabite king Balak. So Balak had hired Balaam, which was a prophet of God, and he wanted to tell him to try to put a curse on God's people. So when he tried, no matter what it is, he ended up blessing them instead of cursing them. So it backfired. So even though that some of these things that people try to do to you, you got to be mindful. I remember our ancestors used to tell us to be careful who you put your mouth on, especially if they're a godly person, because not all the time the things that you trying to do to them that would, happen. Sometimes it backfires and it happens to you because you're trying to harm God's people. In the word, it talks about touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm. So that's what I'm saying. Okay, then our last book is Acts 16. This has to do with Paul. Paul became a servant, of God, and there was a slave girl who was possessed by, a spirit of divination. So that's because she was able to predict the future, but Paul didn't want to have her associated with what he was doing, which is the word of God. So, and Paul ended up casting this spirit of divination off this girl. He broke the spirit that plagued her. Now, let me tell you, it did cause some trouble too, because the people who was making money off that girl who was possessed with this type of spirit, she was a slave girl. So people own her, and they was making money off of her through the things that she was saying, because she was able to predict the future. So in the word, throughout it, you have, different types of blessings, the curses, divination, sorcery, all of that is written in there. So go do your research and find out more about that. And so Paul did cast that spirit out of her, and people ran them off out of their towns or whatever, because they had to deal with their money. And, people do not like you messing with their money. So just be mindful and be careful as you go to and fro here on this earth. And as you try to figure out what way, what life, what truth that you want to be and represent. So I'm often going to always tell you peace and love and blessings. Well, see you and stay tuned. Blessings, and we're out.